Hello everyone, this is AndresRestart, and this time we're doing a deep analysis on Mario Kart World. We got the name confirmation of this game today. We got it confirmed that it is the launch title for the Nintendo Switch 2. They are coming out on June 5th. It's really not that far away, and we learned so much about this game today. Not just from the first full proper trailer, but also we got bits of footage during the hardware showcase for Switch 2 and the game chat trailer. So there's really a lot to dissect. I've discovered a variety of things that I want to get into today. It is going to be a deep analysis on this game. There's so much, I'm so excited, and so that's the plan this time. But before going forward, let me take this moment to point out that I am aiming to reach 50,000 subscribers by the time the Switch 2 launches on June 5th. So if you find yourself enjoying my content, I would appreciate it if you could subscribe and hit that notification bell. And so to start things off, I would like to talk about what we saw during the hardware overview, because there's actually a lot of surprising details there. So for starters, we see in the footage that you do indeed have double items in this game, just like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, so that mechanic is still there. However, we did see the items spin during this trailer, and there's a variety of different items that have been confirmed already. And basically, all items are returning from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. However, the feather is returning from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, but this time it looks like you can use it during actual races, not just battle mode. So it looks like you'll be able to use the feather to jump through obstacles or over obstacles. Something I really wish we were able to do in 8 Deluxe, but now, in Mario Kart World, we can. But there are also some new items. We can now throw the Hammer Bros weapon, and we also have the coin block. We now have the Giga Shroom, which turns you into a giant. There is the Ice Flower, so if the Fire Flower can burn people, I would assume the Ice Flower can freeze people. And there is this mysterious magical orb. What does that do? We are not sure quite yet. And so we have all the returning items and some new items as well as the repurposed feather item. In this footage here, you can see that we are riding across the water, and there appears to be some advanced water physics that's giving me a little bit of Wave Race vibes, which stirs a little bit of those nostalgic feelings for me. Something else huge that was revealed during the hardware showcase, but very quickly, was these few frames showing the character select screen. And as you see here, it is 12 characters per page, and we can see 4 dots suggesting that there are 4 pages. 12 times 4 would mean 48 total characters. Now, it's possible that we could unlock further characters and there may be more pages, but it's looking like we have at least 48 spaces for characters, and we already know that it's 24 characters on a track at a time, so this game is huge. Something else that I noticed during this segment is that when you are free roaming, riding around freely, which you can do in this game, there is a mini-map. Something we haven't seen before. Sure, you can see the map where you're racing around, but that's just like an outline of the track. This is a mini-map like you would see in any sort of open world exploration game. Mario Kart World is an open world game this time around, and that's just incredible to think about. I will also note just how pretty the visuals are, and as we ride through the grass here, just seeing all the grass blades jump out, it's truly beautiful. And now I'd like to move on to things I noticed during the game chat trailer. So in Mario Kart World, the big premise of the game is that it's one giant open world map. You do have Grand Prix, and when you finish a race, you continue driving to the next track. But it looks like there are indeed still laps 1 through 3, like it always has been. And my interpretation of this is that once you enter a track, there will be some guides as to where you can go throughout the track, and then upon finishing the race, you can continue onwards. But what also seems to be the case is that you can go off the track at any point, perhaps even during the races themselves in Grand Prix. And what's interesting about this is that perhaps there could be some strategies where by going off track, you may be able to find some other shortcuts. Now, if you want to beat that particular race, if you go too far off, it might not be considered part of the race. However, there is also another mode, which is Knockout Tour. And during Knockout Tour, there are different checkpoints spanning across the map. And so perhaps you can go off trail and find other ways to get to checkpoints quicker. So it seems like there's going to be a lot of flexibility in terms of how you can go about completing races, but you still are also going to have your typical traditional 3-lap races contained within the open world. Because we are looking at the game chat trailer here, they are showcasing communicating with different friends you have online, and it looks like there can be actual player icons as you're racing through together on your character. Now, during this bit of footage here, it doesn't look like the players are racing, they're just free roaming around, and they're actually using the Shy Guy as kind of like a footstool or like a jumping off point, which I find to be quite curious. I wonder if that's how it's going to work for a variety of different characters or animals or enemies we see throughout the entire map of the game. Now in this section we see that they are using the different dinosaurs as platforms. These are bigger creatures, they're probably not treated as typical animals or characters, but more like giant obstacles. But they move about. And here we see that vehicle transformations are indeed a thing, and so when you go deep enough into the water, the tires change. And by the way, we've also seen this for flying around as well, but instead of there being gliders, you actually have wings coming out like planes. And so considering the wave physics we saw earlier, perhaps in this game, they are going to change around how we go about driving through water and through the air, because you did have these options in Mario Kart 8, but it worked a bit differently. In water, you would just drive underwater, and when you were underwater, the physics changed a little bit, and when you were gliding around, of course, you could glide around, there was a slow descent. But in this game, it looks like you ride the surface of the water, very wave race-like, and so taking wave physics into account may be very important for this game. But then also, if we are getting wings instead of a glider, is this just an aesthetic choice? Or perhaps similar to riding across water, they've changed exactly how it feels when you're driving or flying through the air, and maybe it's a little bit more like literally flying during certain segments as opposed to just soaring, gliding downwards. But now let's dive into the trailer analysis. So the opening shot of the trailer, we just see this beautiful look at this area of the game. The skybox, the clouds, the lighting, it all looks amazing. Now we get a nice close-up look of Mario. He's looking at the camera, and he does a little jump and wink. You'll notice that he has a very chibi style-like look. His head is huge. It's almost the size of his entire body. But something else that's very interesting is that the sun is setting, right? Things are getting a little dark. And you'll notice that his little logo is flapped up and a light is coming out. So there are headlights here, which is very interesting. We see it lighting up the road. Of course, the boost also lights up the road as well with that color. So there's a lot of cool lighting effects. You can see a great look at the texture of Mario's pants. Things we sort of discussed before, but now we have a better look at it now with this new footage. And continuing here, something very interesting I noticed. We're actually going in the opposite direction that we were going in the Switch 2 first look trailer. So yeah, it makes sense. You're going to be able to go in different directions at different times. This might be even a free roaming segment, so that's why he may be going backwards. But I also have to imagine that there's got to be a mirror mode option at some point, because there always has been in every prior Mario Kart game. It's very easily to implement, clearly. But something very neat here. Notice Mario has his light from his cart, right? And as he progresses and approaches this car here, we actually see that it shines more brightly as he's passing through, and even this one over here. So these cars in the back are reflecting Mario's cart, and that's some interesting level of detail, I gotta say. But also something else to take into consideration here. Now that we know that this game is fully open world, we can take note of all the branching paths and detours we see, and it looks like Mario could in theory just go straight through. Now, we see that there's like just straight up text or a holographic text or a hologram, I suppose, here that cars are driving through. It may be the case that you can simply drive through, but this is a marker for the actual track. So you understand that when you are racing, this is where you're supposed to go for the particular race if you're doing Grand Prix mode. This is a beautiful shot of Mario up close. I love it. And then the boost seems to start just the same. You can still knock into each other. That's all normal. You got your hop to a drift, that's all there. All good looking stuff. Look at Yoshi doing a little flip. A very interesting bike he has there. It's made out of warp pipes. And then we can see Yoshi's expression here that is an incredible attention to detail. There are so much expressions that we've seen throughout this trailer and that we're going to see throughout this trailer. This is impressive. However, I will also note that Luigi is driving off-road quite a bit. This would give you a strong disadvantage in prior Mario Kart games. It might not be that much of a disadvantage in this one, although it does look like he's falling behind, but perhaps he's planning on going in a different direction. Here we see Daisy landing in the water, and as she lands, you see that the tires change here, and it's giving off really strong wave race vibes, which is super cool. But also notice Rosalina here, so there are even branching paths contained within the tracks themselves, which makes tons of sense. I think there is maybe a little bit of concern that because they're going more open, more vast, that perhaps the tracks themselves won't have as much of an attention to detail. But from everything I'm seeing here, that is absolutely not the case. These tracks are still extremely well designed. They just went even further and designed the world so well and these tracks to fit so well within it. And also during this scene, if you look towards the top right, you'll see that someone's driving on the side of the wall, so anti-gravity is coming back, confirmed. Here we see another Donkey Kong track, actually, and something that's really cool about this one is that you can see here girders, right? And there's a rocket ship, so it's like a futuristic sort of setup here, but there's also a giant mechanical Donkey Kong climbing the girders. So this might be like an environmental boss. And we've actually noticed a variety of enemies, and we'll notice more as we progress through the trailer, that attack you throughout this game. So there's a lot of enemies in this one. It's not just tracks. There are a variety of threats. Another beautiful shot. It's all beautiful shots. This entire game is just gorgeous. The desert, or like a Sahara even. This is a beautiful looking castle. I do not think it's Peach's Resort. Very interesting. So this might be a different castle. This appears to be another Donkey Kong stage. We can see the giant item block. That looks epic. This is an interesting area. Like the lighting is very different. It's like reminding you of like old films, but it's also, I'm going to assume, meant to be somewhat spooky. We see like the bats and stuff, the moon, a creepy gothic looking castle there in the background. So there's just a lot, and also there's booze, which that makes sense. And here we see an amazing new mechanic in Mario Kart World. We can see that Mario can actually like drift or jump onto rails, or any character for that matter, right? We see Mario doing it here, and he is grinding upon the rail. And so what it looks like is that you can get perhaps drift boosts and continually do tricks while maintaining your drifting on rails. So you'll notice the blue sparks. This is the same kind of spark you see for when you're drifting, so I assume that there will be more levels to the boosting here. So you can go to orange sparks, and I haven't seen proof of it yet, but I assume that there will also be purple sparks in this game as well. That was something added in Deluxe, and I would assume that it's going to be back here. Everything else is returning in some way, and so I doubt they would abandon that. But there's more to this new mechanic, or perhaps you can even treat this as a whole other mechanic. There is wall jumping, so you grind on the wall, jump, grind again. They may be taking full advantage of the little hop to whole other levels of interaction here. Here we see a cow, Moo Moo from Moo Moo Meadows, and it's riding on a radio? That is just so crazy, and I love to see Moo Moo Meadows return. This is amazing. This is my favorite character. Moo Moo. There we go. This is my favorite character. Now, something I'll point out here is that we get a great look, and we've seen this before, of the food bag. Even though it's like a little like tongue thing, we see it here. It looks like Yoshi's got some sort of business going on with selling food bags. We saw it in the initial area as well. And so what does this do? Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. It looks like there's a lot of shortcuts, like you can jump into trucks and stuff to get boost. That's cool. And actually, here we go. So I think this is what the food bag is for. So if you notice, going frame by frame here, right, we don't see the food bag. We don't. However, we do see Mario driving away from this burger joint here that we see on the first track, where we also know the food bag is. And there's this giant burger, and now I'm extremely hungry. But he eats the burger, and he transforms into new clothing that perhaps is representative of the area, because then we see that Luigi's going through a similar transformation, except he's in Moo Moo Meadows with, you know, cows and farm stuff, and he looks like a farmer now. So I've been wondering what this food bag does, and I think what it does is that in particular areas, when you eat the food there, you transform into some sort of aesthetic that represents the area. Now with Bowser, he looks super futuristic or like hardcore or punk, and I can't tell from the area, but he may be leaving an area, and that's why it's not clear how his represents the area. But here's another neat little detail. As we pass by this Koopa here, the Koopa looks at Bowser as he passes by. So it's not just the actual racers that look at each other when they pass by each other, but even just basic NPCs. So there's just so much attention to detail in this game. I love it. Peach also has clothes representing the area. I love her design here. It's just awesome. And so there's going to be a variety of different designs for different characters in the different areas. And here is just kind of more proof to the matter. You see Peach's different costumes representing the different areas she's in. So presumably, yeah, she's eating the food bag. And that's why she looks different in these different areas when she's eating the food from those particular areas. So I definitely think it's more than just burgers. The food bag is like the basic thing you'll see per area, and when you select it, the food will change. Notice a snowman here. There's actually a lot of random new enemies in this game, or not enemies, yes, but I actually mean characters, racers. Waluigi looking fly, love it. Giant sandworm, I'm super excited for this. Maybe that's another environmental boss, possibly, or at least a threat of some kind. Here, we see something interesting. I think this is a hint towards that item we don't understand, the magical orb. I believe Mario actually just used an item because you see his hand up in the air. It looks like he just released an item, right? So I assume that was the magical orb, and now Kamek comes out, which makes sense. Kamek is a wizard or magician of some sort. He's about to do something to Mario, but they're actually cut off before we can see what Kamek does. So they are keeping it a secret. However, I do think it looks like Kamek is flying away from Mario, so it may be some sort of curse or spell he's going to cast on others, but not directly on Mario. So it's more of an offensive item, it appears. You see an amazing looking shot of this whale jumping out of the water with these beautiful waves. Beautiful shot of what appears to be Peach's castle. Yep, that's definitely what it is. And here we see just a nice look of the entire map at night. Mario Kart World, that's the logo. It looks amazing. Here we see Mario flying off. There's I look like Toadette. And something I love about this shot here, as we're flying upwards, we can just get a beautiful view of the map before us, and you can see like the lighting and the clouds. There's just some really amazing effects here. What a beautifully realized world. Like, it's just incredible what we're seeing with this game. This is magnificent. And a look of the track and of the world during the day. We got a nice zebra. I wonder if you can hop onto the zebra. I don't think you'll be able to ride the zebra, but perhaps like the Shy Guy, you'll be able to bounce off of them, and so that could create different sort of potential interactions here. Like, even look over here at this giraffe, which is it's cool. There's a giant giraffe there. It's huge. Like, look how thick its neck is. But I could almost see a scenario where someone could be coming from this side and just driving straight through, perhaps jumping from this terrain here high up, landing on the giraffe, and then bouncing over the track. Like, there could be that level of option in this game. Why would you want to do that during a race? In this case, I don't know, but if you're going on the knockout tour, maybe it might make more sense to cut through certain areas. You can drive virtually everywhere. We've talked about that already. So Grand Prix, they still function just the same. We get to actually see pretty much all the tracks here. And so it looks like there's probably going to be 24 total tracks. You see 7 different Grand Prix, and there's 4 races each. Right here's the DK space where I talked about with the giant Donkey Kong thing. And then they show us more. But something else is pointed out is that when you beat a race, you continue driving to the next race. So there's actually a race going on in between each Grand Prix. So the Grand Prix are far larger now, which is very important to consider. And even though we may only have 28 tracks, that's a pretty good amount. It might be short of the typical 32 you might start a Mario Kart game with, but if there's 28 and there's an entire open world as well, I think that's going to be fine. We see more tracks here. We see, are they going to show all of them? No, they cut it off there, so we don't see all of them. We see a lot. Knockout Tour, we've talked about this. So you'll start from one end of the map, and here there's actually, looks like there's 8 different options, right? So there's going to be quite a variation of different tracks here. So even though there are the Grand Prix that have the selection of 4, the Knockout Tours will still use some of these tracks, but in different ways, and they'll be repositioned. So they're almost like a different style of Grand Prix, and they look to be longer because, as you see here, there are 6 tracks you're doing. So these are longer bouts here, and I really like this mechanic because there are the checkpoints, right? And so every checkpoint, there's 5 checkpoints, 4 racers are eliminated until you get to the final stretch, the 6th stretch, where it's just 4 final racers. And something else that's been that I just noticed, well, I didn't just notice, but I noticed earlier when I was kind of doing my preparation for this. It looks like during Knockout Rally, there's someone who has a crown. And when you pass them, it's not a bump, right? It's not about bumping them. It's about taking first. You then obtain the crown. So that's just a nice little interesting difference that we're seeing in this version of the game. Or in this mode, I should say. Now they got free roam. Here, Mario's actually drinking a soda. Now, this is just art, but given that we are already speculating there's going to be different kinds of foods, perhaps a soda can might be something else you can ingest to change your costume. Possibly. Or maybe there's something else to this. And just something I kind of consider here with the idea of free roam. Free roam, that doesn't appear to be an objective. As we kind of show in some of the footage from the game chat trailer, you can just kind of roam the entire environment, racing, driving along with your friends, chatting, having a good time. They could just be like a chill exploration mode. But even in this exploration mode, we see here there's like a power switch of some kind. We've seen this from Mario games. What does it do though? So I'm very curious if there are different things you can do in free roam. It's not just driving around with nothing to do, but just enjoying the scenic routes, I suppose. So there's definitely a lot of questions I have. This is actually very interesting. So it looks like because this is a mine track of some kind, you can actually grind on the whole thing. Oh, look. That looks like to be the purple boost, the purple drift. So it starts off as the typical orange, and we're going to see the blue shift? No. But we know that orange comes after blue, right? And then as we continue, it turns blue, and then it's like different rainbow colors. So they may have just redesigned it a little bit so it's not just purple, but it looks like we do indeed have our 3rd tier of shift. And this also, I guess in theory, kind of confirms that the grinding on the rails is indeed the same sort of level of drift boost we get. Driving through the Sahara, she looks awesome. The entire environment everything about this game looks awesome. I've said this like a million times already, but I'm going to continue to say it. Driving like a sultan by camels, that's super cool. Notice this plane driving by, dropping water. There's appears to be some sort of campsite here. And this is all free roaming footage, right? So is there something that's going on here? Is there like an NPC possibly? Maybe. I will point out we did observe that there is a mini-map for when you are free roaming, so there might be more to that. I've already talked about how perhaps using the free roaming mechanic might allow you to cut through different tracks for Knockout Rally. Man, this game is just so gorgeous. I love it. Photo mode, not really a big deal, but it's nice that it's there. And just a little bit more we see here. It all looks great. Wow. And then we have this other art here that looks magnificent. And there is a direct on April 17th, so there is even more that we're going to learn about really soon. Heck, I mean, there's treehouse footage coming out this week, so there's going to be even more we're going to learn about this game really soon. But we're still not quite done yet. And that is the website. We got the website right here. There's nothing too new I noticed, but there is just like a lot of really nice looking shots of the game, a lot of up close little pictures we're seeing of the different characters and their beautiful expressions. Look at Toad. Look at Wario freaking out there. That's hilarious. Goomba looks amazing. Peach looks so cool. Mario just looks so jovial. Luigi's got that energy. Man, Yoshi's adorable. I can just go on. The art in this game, the expressions, it's all amazing. Yeah, you can play this game with your friends. Everywhere you race is your course. Look at all these branching paths they show here. Like, they show all the different tracks and how they all connect to each other. There's just so much different ways you can drive around this world. That's incredible. Sprawling world. Here they show a few different look at Birdo. Look at Birdo. That's some nice footage we got there. If you didn't notice, yeah, Goomba is a racer. We saw that in the first few seconds of footage in the Switch 2 First Look trailer very briefly. What is it with Donkey Kong? Like, just doing this right to start the race instead of driving. I mean, I guess he just was starting very slowly. There are different modes. We have the Grand Prix, of course. We have the Knockout Tour. They kind of explain how it works with the knockout, right? Every checkpoint, you lose 4 racers until the very final one, where it's just 4, and that's the winner. Mario looking super cool here. Big fan. Love the shirt. Reference to Mario Sunshine. And we see something very interesting. There's interaction happening with the Toads and Yoshi. Like, Yoshi does something and the Toads react to it. So that is a very cool little thing there. And yep, the game is coming out June 5th. Love the art here. I will acknowledge that the game is $80 USD, which is insane. That's insanely high. I definitely agree. I'm going to get the Switch 2 bundle so I can save money that way, probably. So $500 for the Switch 2 console, which is normally $450 on its own, plus an $80 game. You can save some money there. Yeah, that makes sense. But anyways, like, I'm in love with this game overall. This is going to be an amazing launch title. I am so excited for this. Mario Kart World looks amazing. But what do you all think? Let me know in the comments below. This is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Bye.